Hi there, this is Professor Ryan Murray, and I'm going to do a tutorial on how to use YouTube end screens to create interactivity and choose your own adventure style videos. So if you've ever used YouTube annotations before, they were the old system of interactivity where you could kind of create a box and make linking clickable buttons. YouTube has changed their method recently, or in 2017, they changed to end screens, which are mobile friendly, but they have some new rules. So I'm going to show you how that's done. First, we'll start in Premiere. A couple of things you need to know about end screens. You can have up to 4 videos linked on an end screen, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And to have an end screen, your video has to be at least 20 seconds long before the end screen. And then the end screen can be from 5 to 20 seconds. So you have to have at least a 25-second video. That's the minimum. 20 seconds of action, 5 seconds of end screen. If you want longer for your viewer to choose between their options, then you've got to build that into your timeline. So take a look here in Premiere. I've made a very simple, very silly example where a student is walking up to my office trying to look for me to ask for their grades, and I'm trying to hide from them. So we start with a little title. The student walks through the hall, sort of like first person, and they arrive at the corridor where my office is located. And then they're going to get a choice. Should they check in my office? Should they check in the library next door? Or should they go looking for me on the way to the bathroom? And those will be the choices. So now my first problem is I didn't shoot long enough video for the opener. If someone walks in the door, they say, I hope he's here, and that's all we get. And I've only got about 11 seconds. So I can't have an end screen yet. So I've got to play for time. So what I chose to do was extend this out with a still frame. You should plan accordingly whether you want to do moving video underneath your end screen, or if you want a still frame, or if you want something that can loop. You've got to build that time in. For me, I just wanted to sort of stop here and let people choose with this as a simple background. So the first step was to go put my playhead at the very end of where I wanted to have my still frame, and go to this little button that looks like a camera underneath our program window. It's the export frame button, and that lets you name the frame, choose a file type, and importantly, check import into project so that it dumps it right back into your project window and you can use it as an asset like I have already. So this image 8024, that's my still frame of the last frame of the office door. So I can extend that out and make my video as long as I need it to be. I also wanted to create a kind of a call to action. Partially this helps me build the time to get to that 20-second mark, but it also is really important to have some kind of call to action to tell your viewer, hey, this is an interactive video and you have to make a choice. If they don't know that, they might think, oh, this is just one of those videos where I can click on another video that they made that's unrelated. They might be very confused by this strange little narrative that ends and doesn't go anywhere if you don't make it clear that they're supposed to choose something. So in my case, I've written, where is Professor Murray, and kind of just like a very punctuated, I even have like a silly sound effect that hits, word comes up. So that was the choice I made, and that gets me to the 20 seconds, and then this is all going to sit there as a still frame for another 10 or so seconds while people make a choice. The last thing to take note of is I cheated all this text up really high in the frame. I even broke the title safe guidelines because YouTube doesn't cut off for title safe or action safe, so you'll be fine. But the reason I'm doing that is because end screens occupy more or less this area of the frame. So I want this text to be up high enough that I can use my whole end screen area. Okay, so that'll be the first video in my Choose Your Own Adventure. Now we have to make the other videos. And so the one other tip I can give you in Premiere for interactive videos is use organization to your advantage. I've created new sequences for each one of the separate videos. That's very easy to do. You just go File, New Sequence, and then it shows up down here, and you can name it something that makes sense and is appropriate for your clips. That way you get a separate independent timeline for every one of your videos, even though it's all in the same project. You can export them separately, and they're going to work really nicely that way. So my story goes, they look for me, they can see if I'm on my way to the bathroom, where I run away and lock myself in and they can't get in. They can look for me in the library, where I close the door in their face and lock them out. Or they can look for me in my office, where I happen to be hiding with a lampshade over my head. So that's my silly little interactive story, and I want to export all of these as separate clips to upload to YouTube. So when I go to do that, I click on my my video sequence. I go File, Export Media, and we're going to use a YouTube-oriented preset to make things clear, easy, and foolproof. So under export settings, we'll choose Format H.264. This is the current industry standard compression type for online video. And then under the preset, we're going to go down to the bottom where the Y's are and choose YouTube 1080p HD, because that's what I shot in. Here under output name, I get to choose that. Hopefully if I organized all my sequence settings well, it'll already have a reasonable name. And then finally I can either hit export and it'll just dump out and I'll wait for it to be done, or if you want to export them all in one go, you can hit Q, and this opens up Adobe Media Encoder, and I can put all 4 of these videos into a queue to export and sort of do them all in one go. So here's a queue that I've already started. It's got the Office one, it's got Where is Professor Murray. I can jump back here, export the next one. It'll all keep showing up in this queue. And then when I've got them all, I just hit this green play button and it'll do them all at once. So I've kind of pre-baked all this stuff so we can quickly go on to the next step here. And that takes us to YouTube. So you've got to have an account for YouTube, you sign in, and then you find this upload button in the top right of your browser. And it's very easy to upload videos to YouTube, of course. In my case, I've got them all in a folder for my interactive video, and I can drag them all in at once by clicking like this bathroom one and then hold Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, and I'm going to choose all the rest of the videos. So Office, Library, and Where is Professor Murray, and I drag them all at once into my browser window, and they start uploading. Now, while they're uploading, there's a couple of important things we can do for interactive videos that save us some time and get it all done while they're uploading. So check this out. See how it says public here? And on all of these videos, if you click show more, it'll have all these same settings. This public setting, that's your privacy setting for videos. Now, most YouTube videos that you upload, you want them to be public. Public means they're searchable, people can find them, people can see them in their related videos, people can see them in your channel. But for our purposes, it makes sense that we want our first video, Where is Professor Murray, to be searchable and to show up in our channel. So we want that to be public. But if we have a video like in the bathroom or in the library or in the office set as public, it'll be one of many, many sort of weird in the middle of a story interactive video pieces that show up in my channel listings. It'll show up in the related videos on the side of somebody's sidebar. And somebody could very easily end up seeing a middle of your story and be totally confused. So we want to avoid that. And the way we avoid that is change all the other videos that aren't the first one from public to unlisted. And unlisted means you can only watch it if you've got the direct link to it. And in this case, if your end screen links to it. So I've done it. I've made them all unlisted. Next thing you can be doing while they're uploading is they tell you what the URL is going to be. A consequence of doing this with unlisted videos is that we won't be able to easily link to them if we don't have this URL. So I want you to make a little Word document for yourself and right-click and copy link address, and I've sort of pre-labeled all these. So this is the bathroom video. I'm going to have my URL saved in a Word document for each of these. Now you might be looking at this and thinking, whoa, this guy is like way over the top organized, like this seems unnecessary. But you'll thank me later if you do this, because when you go to try to link them in the end screens, you won't be able to link without these direct URLs. You won't be able to link to unlisted videos. And so you'd much rather deal with this now than later. Okay, cool. So we've got that. We've got unlisted. The last thing that you can do at this stage that I think is essential for interactive videos is the button that's going to show up on the end screen is going to be this thumbnail image, the video thumbnail that YouTube creates. And the problem with that is when I write "Where is Professor Murray," if the button is just like a door handle, nobody's going to know what they're choosing. That's not going to make any sense to them. So we want to make what's called a custom thumbnail, so we can choose what someone sees for that button. So it so happens that I've already done this to save time. So I've got a bathroom.jpg and an office.jpg and et cetera, that I'm going to start uploading. Now, I made these very simply in Photoshop, and I can create a separate video tutorial for how to do simple titles in Photoshop, if that's helpful. But you can also do it really easily in Premiere. If you know your way around the title card designer in Premiere, it would be as simple as making a title, putting your playhead over that frame, and then exporting that frame and finding that JPEG file in your Finder window. So you can upload that, and now my videos all have very obvious, legible thumbnails. So I'm going to click Publish on the public one, and I should be all set to go. So here comes the last and main event kind of step, making the end screen. So I'm going to jump to Creator Studio, and I'm going to find my main video, the first one, and pull this down and hit End Screen and Annotations. Incidentally, if you ever need to change the thumbnail or the privacy settings because you didn't do it when they were uploading, you can do that here too. You just hit Edit and you get to have all those settings again. But here I'm going to go End Screen and Annotations. And this is how it's done. It jumps to where the end screen section of the film would be. And we're going to hit Add Element. we're going to add a video. The other things you can do with end screens are add a subscribe link, or a link to another channel, or a link to an approved web page if you've had a web page approved through YouTube. But we're just going to do video. We're going to choose a video or playlist, and this is where you want that Word document. That's where that's going to come in handy. Because as you can see, it shows me other videos that I've uploaded, but only publicly available ones. It doesn't show my unlisted videos. So let's jump to our Word doc and copy and paste the URL down in this URL box. And there is my first end screen link button. So I can drag this around, place it where I want, and add a new element. So remember, you can add up to 4 in an end screen. So for ours, we're going to do 3, and I'm going to try to line these up. You have to make sure they're not touching at all. It won't allow you to complete the end screen if you have any of them touching. So that's easy with 2, but with 3, it'll start to be crammed. 3 or 4, you'll have to keep them in the corners. And it shows up as red if they are touching. Okay, cool. So there's office, library, and bathroom. The only other thing you can do here that's kind of worth doing, or sort of neat if you want to, is you can have them kind of animatedly pop in by using this as a timeline and shrinking how long they're available for. You could even potentially make one go away, like they lost the chance to click one after a certain amount of time, I think, by dragging the other end, right? You can do it like that. But I'm going to leave mine up the whole time. If I want to see how they animated, I click this preview button. And they pop on like that. Okay, cool. So I hit save, and that's really all there is to it. The only other thing I would do to complete this project is I'm going to add end screens on all of those. So when I go to the office video, I'm not just going to leave people hanging there. I'm going to give them the choice after that to look in the library and the bathroom, but not the office because they've already done that, right? So on each of these videos, I'll have end screens that jump to the appropriate options. That's basically all there is to it. The only other way to do interactivity with YouTube currently is there's a concept of cards, which show up not at the end of the video. That's a whole different process, though it's relatively similar. I can do a different tutorial to show you that. But this is how you would make a simple choose your own adventure style interactive video with YouTube end screens.